What if I told you that 6 Kennedy half-dollars, coins that most people would not even bother picking up off the sidewalk, are worth enough money to pay off a car, fund a vacation, and completely change your financial year? Every single one of these coins has a secret hiding inside it that the average person has absolutely no idea about. One has an error variety that sends collectors into a complete bidding war frenzy. One was struck in such low surviving numbers that finding a perfect example is like finding a needle in a haystack. And one is sold at auction for a price so jaw-dropping that when I tell you the number, you are going to stop this video and go dig through every single coin jar in your house right now. So stay locked in, because starting things off at number 6, and we are kicking this off with a coin that I genuinely believe is one of the most undervalued pieces in the entire modern coin series. And that is the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar struck at the Denver Mint, carrying that bold D mint mark right beneath Kennedy's neck on the reverse side. And let me tell you something. When most people hear 1972 Kennedy half-dollar, they think, oh, that's just a clad coin. It's common. Nothing special about it. And that right there is the single biggest mistake a collector can make in today's market, because the truth is so much more complicated and so much more exciting than that surface-level assumption. The Denver Mint in 1972 produced these coins during a transitional era in American coinage, a period where the mint was still working out quality control standards that had shifted dramatically from the silver era just a few years earlier. And what that means for collectors is that coins from this period with the right strike, the right luster, and the right surface preservation can be extraordinarily difficult to locate in high grade. Now let's talk about your face value first, just so we're grounded. This coin has a face value of 50 cents, half a dollar. That is what the United States government says it is worth as legal tender. But what the market says is an entirely different conversation. In circulated grades, a 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar is going to fetch somewhere in the range of a few dollars, maybe $5 to $15 depending on the condition. And that is fine. That is where most examples of this coin live. But here is where things get absolutely electric. In mint state grades, specifically when you start climbing into MS65 and above, this coin transforms completely. A 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar graded MS65 by PCGs or NGC can command anywhere from $800 to $1,400 depending on the eye appeal and the specific surface quality. And when you push that grade up to MS66, you are looking at prices that routinely reach $2,000 to $3,500 at major auction events. But hold on, because it gets even better. There is a variety that exists within the 1972 Denver Kennedy half-dollar series that most people have never even heard of, and that is the double die variety, where the die used to strike these coins shows clear doubling on specific design elements, including the lettering and Kennedy's portrait details. And when one of these double die examples surfaces in a high-grade holder, the auction results are nothing short of jaw-dropping, with some examples selling in the range of $4,000 to $7,000 to the right buyer at the right auction. And there have been internet forum discussions of even higher private sales. The luster on a gem-quality 1972 D. Kennedy is absolutely breathtaking. When you see it in hand, it has this rolling cartwheel effect that the Denver Mint produced beautifully during this period. And the strike on a well-made example is crisp and full across Kennedy's hair detail and across the eagle's feathers on the reverse, and that combination of technical perfection and visual beauty is what drives these auction prices into the stratosphere. So if you have a 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar sitting in a drawer or a box somewhere and you have never had it evaluated, do yourself a massive favor and get it looked at, because you might be sitting on something worth thousands of dollars and not even know it. Next up, moving right along to number 5, and this next coin is one that I am incredibly passionate about talking about because it is wrapped up in a fascinating period of American numismatic history. And that is the 1973 Kennedy half-dollar struck at the Philadelphia Mint. And here's the thing about this coin that immediately sets it apart from so many others in the Kennedy series. In 1973, the Philadelphia Mint did not use a P Mint mark on its coins. This was before the P Mint mark became standard practice for Philadelphia. So what you were looking at on a 1973 Philadelphia Kennedy half-dollar is a coin with no mint mark at all. And that absence of a mint mark is itself the identifier that tells you this coin came from Philadelphia, and I want you to understand why that matters enormously in the context of today's collector market. The 1973 Philadelphia Kennedy half-dollar was produced during a period when the mint was still supplying coins to the Federal Reserve banking system. But the circulation of half dollars had already slowed dramatically. By this point in American history, the public had largely stopped using 50-cent pieces in everyday transactions. And so many of these coins never circulated at all. They sat in bags and rolls in bank vaults, and that means high-grade examples do exist, but finding a truly gem-quality specimen is harder than you might think. Because bag marks from those original mint bags can be devastating to the surfaces of these coins. Face value, as always, is 50 cents. That is your floor. That is your guaranteed value if you spend it at a store. But obviously, nobody with any sense is spending one of these at a store. In MS-63 and MS-64, you were looking at coins worth somewhere in the range of $200 to $500. Solid money for a coin that most people overlook. But when you get a 1973 Philadelphia Kennedy half dollar into MS-65 territory, that price jumps dramatically, and you start seeing realized auction prices in the range of $1,200 to $2,200. And the reason is simple supply and demand at the highest grade levels. The population reports from the major grading services show that truly gem-quality examples are far rarer than the total mintage figure would suggest. Now, here is the error in variety conversation that makes this coin even more thrilling. There are known examples of the 1973 Philadelphia Kennedy with striking anomalies and die varieties that include repunched dates and misaligned die strikes. And these varieties, when properly identified and submitted to a grading service with a variety attribution, can add anywhere from 50% to several 100% to the coin's base value, meaning a variety coin in high grade could realistically bring $4,000 to $6,000 at a major auction. And that is not speculation. That is based on real market data from real sales. The design itself on these early 1970s Kennedy pieces retains a beautiful sharpness when well struck. And the clad composition catches light in a way that is genuinely lovely. The silver ring on the outside combined with the copper core creates a toning dynamic over time that can produce absolutely stunning rainbow toning on original roll coins. And a rainbow-toned 1973 Philadelphia Kennedy half dollar in MS-65 with original skin and blazing luster is the kind of coin that experienced collectors will pay almost anything to own. Next up. All right, we are at number 4, and I need you to really pay attention here because this coin might be the one that surprises you the most. This is the 1979 Kennedy half dollar. And this is a Philadelphia mint coin from that era before the P mint mark was applied. So again, you are looking at a no mint mark coin. And the 1979 Philadelphia Kennedy half dollar is one of those pieces that has a very specific story to tell in the collector market that separates it sharply from its peers. 1979 was an interesting year for American coinage because it was a period of economic turbulence in the United States. Inflation was running rampant, precious metal prices were climbing toward historic highs, and the mint was dealing with enormous pressure to produce coins efficiently and at high volume. And all of that context plays directly into the quality story of this coin. The 1979 Philadelphia Kennedy half dollar was produced in substantial numbers, but here is what collectors have discovered over decades of careful study. The quality control at the Philadelphia Mint during this specific year was inconsistent in ways that make high-grade examples genuinely scarce. And the population of truly gem-quality coins in PCGs and NGC holders tells that story very clearly. Face value 50 cents. That is the foundation. That is where we start and where we immediately leave behind. In lower circulated grades, this coin trades for a couple of dollars at most, nothing remarkable. But as you climb the grade ladder, something remarkable happens to this coin's market value. In MS-64, you are looking at prices in the range of $300 to $600 for a nice example with good eye appeal. At MS-65, the market gets very serious about the 1979 Philadelphia Kennedy, and realized prices of $1,500 to $2,600 are well documented. But here is the thing that makes collectors absolutely electric about this coin. There is a major variety within the 1979 Kennedy half-dollar series that involves the Susan B. Anthony dollar die that was being produced simultaneously at the mint, specifically related to the SPA dollar obverse design changes. And some Kennedy half-dollar dies from this period show interesting transitional characteristics that variety specialists actively seek. Additionally, there are confirmed double die obverse varieties for the 1979 Philadelphia Kennedy that show clear machine doubling on the date and on Kennedy's portrait elements, and a double die variety in MS65 or better can bring anywhere from $5,000 to $9,000 at a well-publicized auction. This is the kind of money that makes grown coin collectors go weak in the knees. The luster on a quality 1979 Philadelphia Kennedy is different from the Denver coins of the same period. Philadelphia coins tend to have a slightly more satiny finish, while Denver leans more toward a frosty cartwheel. And both are gorgeous in their own way, but the satin Philadelphia finish on a coin with original untouched surfaces is something that photographs beautifully and attracts serious bidding at auction. Next up, number 3, and we are now entering what I consider the truly premium tier of today's lineup, and this coin is the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar from the Philadelphia Mint, carrying the P Mint mark that was introduced on Philadelphia coinage starting in 1980. And the 1981 P Kennedy half-dollar has a collector story that is so compelling, so layered, and so financially significant that I could spend an entire video on this single coin alone. Here is why 1981 is such an extraordinary year for Kennedy half-dollars, and why collectors who know their coins get visibly excited when one of these surfaces in high-grade condition. The early 1980s were the beginning of the great numismatic boom in America. Coin collecting was exploding in popularity. The professional coin grading service was still years away from being founded in 1986. And coins from this period were being produced at a time when the mint's quality standards were being evaluated and revised constantly. The 1981 Philadelphia Kennedy half-dollar has a face value of 50 cents. Your baseline, your floor, and now let's build up from there. In circulated condition, this coin is worth a few dollars, common enough in that grade range. But in mint state condition, the story changes dramatically and permanently. In MS64, you are looking at prices ranging from $400 to $800, depending on surface quality and eye appeal. At MS65, the 1981 P. Kennedy half-dollar commands between $2,000 and $3,500 at major auction sales. And those are numbers that reflect a genuine scarcity at the gem level that the raw mintage figures completely obscure. But the conversation that really sets hearts racing in the Kennedy half-dollar collector community around the 1981 P is the Type 1 versus Type 2 designation. Because 1981 saw a modification to the coin's design, specifically to the lettering and surface treatment, and coins attributed as the scarcer Type 2 variety from Philadelphia carry a significant premium over Type 1 examples, with Type 2 examples in MS65 realizing prices of $4,000 to $7,000 at auction, and in MS66, if you can find one, you are potentially looking at prices in the $10,000 to $15,000 range, depending on the specific example and who is in the room bidding. The strike on a 1981 Philadelphia Kennedy in gem condition is often spectacular. The P Mint was producing some of its finest Kennedy work during this transitional period, and when you find a coin with full blazing luster, a sharp strike across all design elements, and clean original surfaces, you have found something that belongs in a museum case, and the market treats it accordingly. Toned examples from original mint sets also carry extraordinary premiums when the toning is original, attractive, and dramatic. And there are 1981 P. Kennedy half-dollars with rainbow toning from original sets that have crossed the $20,000 mark in private sales. Yes, you read that right. $20,000 for a Kennedy half-dollar. Next up, we are at number 2, And honestly, when I thought about what coin to put in the second position of this countdown, I kept coming back to this one. Because it represents a fascinating intersection of scarcity, history, and raw collector passion that few other coins in the Kennedy series can match. And that is the 1997 Kennedy half dollar from the Denver Mint with the D Mint mark. And let me be extremely direct with you about something right now before we go any further. The 1997 D Kennedy half dollar is one of the most significant coins in the entire modern Kennedy half dollar series, and most people have absolutely no idea. None. Zero. They walk right past it. They sell it for pocket change. They have no idea what they are holding. Here is the background you need to understand why this coin commands the prices it does. By 1997, Kennedy half dollars were no longer being struck for general circulation. The mint was producing them primarily for inclusion in mint sets sold directly to collectors. And that changed the production context completely. These were collector coins being made in lower quantities with collector eyes in mind rather than mass production for circulation. And that should make them common in high grade, right? Wrong. Because here is what actually happened. The 1997 Denver Kennedy half dollar had a relatively low mintage compared to many of its predecessors in the series, and because these coins were packaged in soft plastic mint set packaging, the coins could and did pick up contact marks from the packaging itself, meaning that even original mint set coins often grade out at MS64 or below when submitted to the major grading services. Face value, 50 cents. That is your starting point, and now we go vertical. In MS64, a 1997 D Kennedy half dollar is worth somewhere between $600 and $1,200. Real money. At MS65, you are looking at auction prices between $3,000 and $5,500. And that is a number that stops people cold when they first hear it for what looks like a modern clad coin. But here is where things get truly insane. In MS66, the 1997 D Kennedy half dollar is extraordinarily rare. The population of MS66 examples in PCGs and NGC holders is genuinely tiny. And the auction results at that grade level reflect that scarcity in the most dramatic possible way, with realized prices of $12,000 to $22,000 being documented for properly graded MS66 examples of this coin. There are also matte finish proof versions of the 1997 Kennedy half dollar that were produced as part of a special limited set honoring the coin's anniversary, and those matte proof coins are in their own category entirely, with values for high-grade examples reaching $60,000 and beyond in some documented auction results. And that is not a typo. $60,000 for a Kennedy half dollar. And if that does not convince you to take every modern Kennedy you own seriously, then nothing will. Next up, and here we are at number 1, the top of the list. The coin that, after everything I have shown you today, I believe represents perhaps the most compelling combination of accessibility, history, era potential, and raw collector excitement in this entire lineup. And that is the 1998 Kennedy half dollar from the Denver Mint bearing that D Mint mark. And I have to tell you, I saved this one for last deliberately because the story around the 1998 D Kennedy half dollar is layered with so much numismatic drama, so much auction history, and so much potential for the average collector to find something extraordinary that it deserves the spotlight position at the top of this countdown. The year 1998 sits in a very specific and important window in Kennedy half dollar history. It is 3 years before the Mint transitioned to producing Kennedy half dollars solely for collector sets and numismatic products. And the Denver Mint in 1998 was striking these coins with a quality and care that reflected the changing relationship between the Mint and its collector audience. The mintage for the 1998 D Kennedy half dollar is lower than many collectors realize, and the surviving population in gem condition is even lower than that raw mintage would suggest, because coins from this period were still packaged in ways that allowed surface contact and damage. Face value 50 cents, that is your baseline, that is where we begin and where we immediately leave with extreme prejudice. In circulated condition, the 1998 D Kennedy is worth a few dollars. Nothing dramatic, but you are going to be shocked at what happens when condition enters the conversation. In MS64, you are looking at $800 to $1,500 for a nice example. And that right there should tell you everything you need to know about how the market views this coin. In MS65, documented auction results show prices between $4,000 and $7,000 for properly graded examples with strong eye appeal. And those prices are supported by real sales at major numismatic auction houses where serious money meets serious coins. Now, here is the part of the 1998 D. Kennedy story that I find absolutely irresistible and that I think gives this coin its #1 position on today's list. And that is the matte finish, satin finish, and special strike varieties that exist within this date. Because in the late 1990s, the mint was experimenting with different surface treatments for collector coins, and some of those experimental strikes found their way into the collector market through various channels. And when one of these special surface treatment examples surfaces at auction in a high-grade holder, the results are breathtaking. With some special strike 1998 D. Kennedy examples realizing prices between $25,000 and $40,000 at major auction events. And there are collectors who have spent years searching for these pieces specifically because the payoff when you find one in high grade is so astronomically high. The design quality on the 1998 D. Kennedy in gem condition is absolutely stunning. The Denver Mint strike quality during this period was exceptional, and a well-struck 1998 D. Kennedy shows razor-sharp detail across every element of Gilroy Roberts' Kennedy portrait and Frank Gasparo's heraldic eagle reverse. And when you combine that technical perfection with blazing original luster and clean surfaces, you have a coin that photographs like a dream and sells like one too. Final thoughts. And that is going to do it for today's video, everybody. We just walked through 6 Kennedy half dollars that prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that modern American coinage is not just collectible, it is genuinely valuable in ways that most people are sleeping on. And if today's video opened your eyes to even one coin in your collection that you were going to look at differently, then this video did exactly what I wanted it to do. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Kennedy half dollar series, make sure you smash that like button right now, because it genuinely helps this channel more than you know. And if you are not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss a video, because I am constantly bringing you content just like this that tells you the real story behind real coins and real money. And we are just getting started. I will see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.